Uh, and I'm very happy that we're so international because today's session it's about something very specific. It's about how to expand to UAE, and we're going to talk about wider GCC as well, and how to actually make it work. It's not going to be the standard Dubai is the future, everything is happening here hype, or another dry legal work through how to set up the entity and how not to pay taxes. It will be more practical session for anyone who is seriously thinking of coming to UAE, coming to the region, and growing here on the market, building your startup or any kind of business here. So my goal, our goal at the end of this webinar is just to give a clarity of what works here and what doesn't work. We'll try to give you some examples of success stories and of the failures. So at the end, you can actually understand how different it is to your local home market, or maybe how similar it is, because there are both of those sides. So just before we start and we jump into the proper content, first of all, guys, I will introduce us and the startup grind, but also I would like you, while you're introducing yourself and where are you from, would be great if meanwhile during the presentation, you could also give us a little overview. If you're already on the market, if you're just looking, just curious, if you're doing the initial discovery, maybe already running the pilots or getting the first customers, what is your biggest struggle? Just give us some thoughts. Here are some examples on the right of the screen. So if you can just type in the chat box, it would be great. So in the future, we know what you are also interested in. So a little bit about myself, and then Sameer introduce himself and Startup Grind. My name is Mazurek. I am a founder of Pitch Deck Studios. We are a business creative partner working with early stage, but also later stages founders. Together with my team, I supported more than 4,500 startups globally with fundraising and with sales communication. And I am personally an expert in storytelling, positioning. And since I moved to UAE, I'm helping startups with a local go-to-market and fundraising strategies. Sameer, could you give us a little bit overview of a Startup Grind as well, since you've been a co-director and working with Startup Grind for a while? I know that there are many people who are joining from the community, but also outside.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'm super happy, first of all, to welcome all of you to the Startup Grind Dubai chapter. I've been a chapter co-director for the last 4 such years, and every year as a pilgrimage, I've attended the global conference which happens in Silicon Valley. My name is Sameer Sortur, been in the UAE, Dubai, but handling global business for the last 22 years. So I call Dubai my home. I've worked in different fields, including corporate venture capital, helping growth stage companies soft land in the UAE, along with running successful communities and accelerators, both for large corporation, Fortune 500 companies. And what is interesting is a lot of corporate executives now want to start up, and they're looking at places or jurisdictions where ease of doing business is on the top priority, right? So that's what Dubai offers. I also run an accelerator, a 14-week program with Founder Institute. If you're familiar with Founder Institute, they're the world's largest pre-seed accelerator, and we have over 75 plus portfolio companies. 12 of them have been funded, and we're doing excellent in that domain. So early stage, mid stage, and late stage is what I work with, along with investing from my fund, which is Square Circle Ventures from the US. So that's a little bit about myself. And just to get into the depth of the presentation, the reason you guys are here for, I'll hand it over back to Ada.
All right. So let's jump quickly through how we're going to structure it today. I will start with the mindset and the market mechanism. So why US, EU, or Asian playbooks often fail in GCC, we'll move to the operating system, and then we'll talk a little bit about go-to-market strategy. I want you guys to stay to the end. You just heard about Sameer's background, and he will talk about the ecosystem and hubs in Dubai and Emirates. He will explain you how fundraising he works, how what are the results from the 2025 and earlier years, and what is the overlook for the future year, what to expect, what to invest, which companies have a bigger chance, which have a smaller chance, what are the fundraising, what is the fundraising and investor mindset, since Sameer is working a lot with the investors. He will give you all of the tips and tricks on those. So we start from how to enter and the mindset, how to operate, and we get into the full big picture of ecosystem and fundraising. And at the end, we'll leave time for Q&A. So as Sameer already mentioned at the beginning, on the bottom, there is a little Q&A box where you guys can just type your questions. And at the end, we'll just go back and reply to all of them as much as the time allows. So feel free to just type them during our talking, during our presentation. Let's get into the juicy part then and start talking about expansion. Dubai. Well, everybody knows Dubai. It's positioned as one of the easiest and probably recently the most attractive places globally to start and grow the business. And definitely, it's a very high velocity business environment. The government gives really strong support. There are really good structures. It's really easy to incorporate businesses. For sure, you've seen either on your Instagram or in the ads, 24 hours, 48 hours, and you get your license. You have access to modern banking. Also, the infrastructure, for life, it's really good. The city is very safe, very efficient. You're in the middle, in the center of the world. So within 8 hours, you can reach Asia, US. You're also quite central in terms of the time zone. So everybody coming here, it's into the business mode. It's also a bit crazy. You're waiting in a line for a coffee and you're meeting another entrepreneur. You're chilling at your swimming pool. And I swear, in my own experience, you're meeting a VC who becomes your friend. So everybody is very tuned on. And everybody says how easy it is to start. But I believe that not many people are talking about how easy it is to survive. Because the city attracts a lot of global talent, executives from London, New York, bankers from Singapore. There's capital from everywhere. So the pressure, it's quite high. It's very inspiring. It's forcing you to level up. But you need to remember that the competition, it's not just local, it's global, it's international. So this is the first mistake that most of the founders make when they come here, is they think that they assume that what worked back home in US, Europe, Asia will also work here. So they had a very successful business before, or they run successful business right now. They fly in, they set up, they start the legal process, they start the meetings, they pitch hard, and a few months later they go home. Usually after winter back home, they go to the European summer, for example, but they go back disappointed that nothing happened. And this happens because they don't really understand the local playbook, how the market works here. The truth is, and I will start with this very strongly, and I will be repeating it many times during the presentation until you're really tired of this, you need to build the relationship banks in UAE, and this is the most important part. So what I mean, this is a market that you don't enter alone. You enter it through people, and it takes time. It takes time to meet people. It takes time to build trust. So you don't just come as a tourist, set up the business, and start, ads, campaigns, and building the brand this way. You need to be here for a little bit longer and to offer something. In UAE, the market is it's not transactional; it's more relational. It really what people say, who you know is the most important, and that's 100% true. And I'm telling you that as a person on the ground. So Dubai, it's incredible ecosystem. It's full of opportunity. It's people say it's getting saturated. It is, but it thanks to that there are so many opportunities, and it gives you amazing start. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's very easy to start, but not easy to win here. So I just want you guys to understand in the next slides, in the next few minutes, what works and what doesn't work. So I noticed that when founders say they are expanding to UAE, they often mean I go to set up the entity and then test how it works, start selling. It sounds easy, but very often it just doesn't work. So the expansion here means adopting your mindset, your operations to the local region. You need to start thinking long term and plan long term once you're entering. So I will start from the something what I already mentioned, which is the relationship first motion, because I really believe that it's something what is new for many people coming especially from the Western countries, where sales and building the brand is very funnel driven. Here everything is relationship driven. And founders very often come and they underestimate how much hands-on they need to be, especially at the beginning. So referrals here matter more than funnels. Introductions are more important and works better than the cold outreach. And yeah, you just need to build the business peer-to-peer, especially at the early stages, founder to founder, founder to executive. You cannot just hire a sales rep for a few months and see how it works, or send your junior and see what you will get. Decision makers meet decision makers. And it takes time. Its local credibility must be earned. That's another mistake that many people make. They think that if they have been successful in their home country or in their local market or in other places around the world, it's going to be exactly the same here. But unfortunately, I noticed that your reputation goes down to zero, and you need to start building from there. So you need to meet new people and then build those relationships. And people are remembering and people are observing you for a long time. If you're on time, if you're following up, if you're appearing at the meetings, they need to see you many times at different events. So, well, it's relationship first, and it also takes long time. So just be patient. I always think like being patient. It's something what you need to learn as first when you arrive to UAE. Second of all, local physical presence, how important it is, first of all, to build the relationships, but also to finally have this local entity, to have a functioning bank account, to have local partners. If you're just coming for a few months, if you don't have a local entity, people don't take you seriously. Investors won't take you seriously. They don't know if you will be here. They will fund your company, and are you going to be here to run the business, or going to go back home for the summer or most of a year while the operations are here on the ground? So this is extremely important. You can validate remote at the beginning. You can try to secure first few customers. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit later. So the first steps may be done online, but then the first few months should be done here. I also think that the mistake that many founders make is outsourcing too early, especially marketing and sales, without fully understanding how this really work in local market. So come, check it out, talk to people, understand, then hire accordingly, and only then outsource and go home for a little bit before for the summer. But it must be you who understands how the market works with local advisors and so on. Don't try to hire too early, because you will simply burn your capital. You just spend money and won't get too much out of it. And the third thing, it's cultural operating system, sorry, as I call it, which is well, first of all, the execution is more important than strategy here. You need to be consistent with what you're doing to build more sustainable and long-term business. You need to invest time. Also, the market is changing so fast here. The law, the new companies coming, the innovation that is appearing in the region, everything is coming so fast that your strategy may be changing and you be really adaptive. But the only point is you just need to be here. That's actually the interesting thing that I tell everybody, since I moved in here, because I believe that this is something that is completely different from, for example, Europe or US. The business is done on not only outside of a boardrooms and outside of the offices. You really need to build the relationships and become friends with people you're working with, you're building the partnerships with. You need to go to dinners, you need to go for drinks, you need to go for golf, for horse racing. It's but it's a kind of obligation that you need to be there. But there another thing, like how you communicate with people, it's WhatsApp works here better than email, than LinkedIn, than any kind of CRM that you may have. And I can tell you firsthand, even the example 2 weeks ago, I went to Web Summit in Doha, and I met many people. So this is not only for UAE, but the whole GCC region. I met many amazing people, these big decision makers, directors of big companies. Everybody was excited about the project I'm working on, and I'm sending email, I'm sending follow-up, third email, nothing. 3 weeks, 2 weeks, nothing happening. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna text on WhatsApp. I'm texting on WhatsApp, and within 2 hours, I get the reply. So it's really different kind of communication. People are communicating more on WhatsApp. People are more quick. People are more outside of the office, and you just need to understand and adapt to that. And then
Yeah.
also, what I already touched upon is that there is a lot of silence that you're getting here. I would say a lot of waiting, but the silence very often doesn't mean rejection. So in many Western markets, Western countries, no response, ghosting means no, we're not interested. Here, the silence very often means maybe they discussing things internally, or maybe they're waiting for better timing, or waiting or looking what you're doing, how you're behaving, how you're working on the market. And then very often, just after a few months, they come back to you with a decision. Yes, we're ready to move on with the project. So don't give up. Maybe the contract is just about to happen. Keep following up, keep be visible, keep meeting people, and just be patient.
Can I, Ada? Can I?
Yeah,
I think you should get a little small glass of water.
yeah.
till
Too
that
fast.
till that time, I just want to emphasize what Ada said, just to especially on the cultural operating system part, because Ramadan is starting from tomorrow. And if you notice some of the large brand activations, whether it's automotive or technology products, they have these evening dinners like Sahur. And so you will see a lot of evening celebrations, because most of the morning time is kind of spent in fasting and kind of religious activities, but the evening time is more relaxed and more reflective of the whole day. So I think this is a part of the cultural fabric. And in order to respect that, you will start understanding that a lot of people, if they did not meet you during the daytime, they would invite you during the evening, late evening time, because their shopping time would start at say 9 p.m. and they would say, why don't we grab a coffee at 9:30 or 10 p.m. in a shopping mall, or so, quite common, uncommon everywhere else, but because of this, specifically during this cultural month, religious month, I think you will also see a lot of people following, even non-Muslims following, in order to respect the local culture. They will follow, they will fast in order to give your body the rest it needs, and your mind the rest it needs. I think that's important from this perspective. So culture uh, during that month forms an important part of business. Over to you, back.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also worth mentioning that during the summer, because of the heat, things are also slowing down. So this is also a thing to consider and to plan ahead. That there are just months when there is a lot going on, which is usually October, November, December, January a bit slower, then February, March, Ramadan, and April back to action. And then there are a few months which you can focus more on the building structures, on the operations, where less meetings are happening and less people are in town. Yeah, so just to sum up what we mentioned here, that I believe that if you adjust those three things, so you change your sales to more relationship first, you have a physical present, you have a local base here, and you really try to understand and adjust to the local culture, then your success, your probability of success will really go up a lot. All right, let's move to another part. So here I just wanted to break down some differences between US, EU, probably some Asian countries. Maybe not all of them will relate to India and Asia, more to the Western countries. But those, I have to say that very often will be the reasons why people or companies are failing or they are giving up because just the standard way of doing things don't work. Starting with the communication. So in US, most of the European countries, the communication is very low context. What means what you say, you mean. So no means no. If somebody's not interested in you or the project or the company, they'll just say, I don't see the collaboration, we don't need to meet. The feedback is usually very direct. While here in GCC, the communication is very high context. People are extremely polite. They will meet you even if they are not interested in what you're doing, but just to expand the network and check, explore. Maybe there is something common. Maybe you have some common connections. The feedback, it's usually very indirect. So they won't tell you directly that they are not interested or they don't like the project. And this may create a kind of illusion of momentum because you think that people who are polite and curious about what you're doing and they just like to hang out and meet for a coffee because they build the relationships and you never know where in few years it will lead you, but it cannot be mistaken with a commercial interest to make a deal. So you will hear a lot, it's very interesting, let's stay in touch, looks amazing, let's work together. And you think that you have some traction, something in progress, but actually it's not. So it's really difficult to navigate here because, as I mentioned, previously, the silence may mean no, but also may mean yes. So just, be patient and go with it. Just knowing it and keeping it, on the back of your head, it's always good. Trusting. I think this is very big difference. In the Western markets, it's usually brand led. So that you build the brand in the US, it's coming to Europe, the brand is well known. You have strong logo types, you have strong product, strong case studies, your credibility transfers across the market. But it stops here. Here, it's more people led. And I like to say that, normally you have a product market fit. In GCC, especially at the beginning, you have a founder market fit when the person who is behind the product, who is behind the company, matters more. So what you do on LinkedIn, how much you promote who you are, if you show up consistently, this matters more than any kind of campaigns and trust in the company. And here I go also to the funnels. in Western markets, automations, big scaling through ads, big marketing campaigns. This works great, especially right now with all the amazing AI platforms. Many companies are restructuring their sales department and keep firing people and hiring more AI platforms. While here in GCC, I believe that you may rethink your sales pipeline and sales team composition, because you may need more human touch points. You may need more people to drive sales locally, because it just works here differently. Here, closing, it's not just one meeting, and you need to generate the interest, then you need to do the follow-ups, build the trust, be consistent, and then close the deal. So it really requires more local proof, local person first. And I call it success factors. Basically, what I want to mention here, it's especially in the Silicon Valley, especially in the US, in the startups world, disruption, being bold, being very innovative matters the most. If you're building something of a new category, it's amazing. But here, the more important thing is actually credibility and stability. So if you are aligned with national priorities, so if you come to UAE and you say, we're here to disrupt everything what you guys doing, it's not going to work. But you need to come and say, we are here to help the country, its people grow, be more efficient, and we bring long-term value. This will work. And Dubai rewards speed. Things are happening very fast. The AI is growing here more than in any other markets. But still, you don't want to just come and disrupt everything. So so basically, I think that when founders from the Western countries come here and fail, very often, it may be one of those reasons. So they just try different playbooks. They use, the patterns, the strategies from other markets, and they just need to start understanding how things work here. So I just tell you why people fail, and I would like to move on to what to do to success, what to do instead. So I have some little tips, especially for people who are just starting, which for me are kind of non-negotiable things to do, especially in your first 90 days. This is what I did, and this is what many people who became successful here did. Lots of conversations and lots of research, lots of checking what works, what doesn't work. So I think that those are few most important points to just introduce after you land. First of all, something what I already mentioned, the physical present, the decision maker. If not the founder, somebody with equity must be here. You should think of being here around 50-60% of the time at the beginning, because the market here is very intense. The amount of the events that are happening is just insane. I remember when I arrived, it's just every week I was at maybe 2 conferences, 2 networkings, and I was doing 5 coffees, which is, of course, until here, it's too much. But this way you start meeting people, building your network fast, and understanding. And if people don't see you once and then you're gone for most of the time, they may feel that you're just experimenting, you're just a tourist. So you really need to show people that you're committed to the market. Just be here as much as possible. Another point, which I think it's also extremely important, what I already mentioned before, when you land here, your reputation restarts. It goes to 0. But there's a little trick, I believe. You can borrow it. You can borrow your credibility while you keep earning it, during the time, by recruiting local advisors, somebody who is in the ecosystem, somebody who can help you with the strategic partnerships. I really believe that many startups underestimate governance. They don't have proper advisors and proper boards, and they think that they know how to do everything, while it's not only the local advisor gives you not only the knowledge like where to set up the company and how to hire or where to which business hub and co-working space is the best. They will give you way more advice, but also they will give you the name of somebody who's already known in the ecosystem, because in this market, who stands behind you really matters. Secure paid pilots. So I think that there, before you start licensing and any serious moves, you should start your paid pilots. And why I say paid? Because reverting, going back to what I mentioned before, you may get a lot of interest here. People will be saying that they are very interested, the product is amazing, they would love to be a part of it. But then when it comes to money, when it comes to signing the deal, you get a lot of LOIs, but it doesn't end up with anything. So I would say before you even get a license, try to secure 1-2 paid pilots, paid customers, and then commit. What it will give you as well, it will give you the first logotypes of working with local brands. It will give you the first case studies, which are pure gold here. If you have case studies of working with local companies, right away you're jumping up. So even the small customer logos and case studies is always very useful. Doesn't matter what big companies you worked, in Europe or in the US. Another important thing, what is a difference here, it's you need to understand pricing reality before you enter, before you start. So in UAE, as we all know, the taxes are pretty good, quite amazing. Zero income tax, very small 9% corporate tax. So the margins look amazing on a paper, but once you start counting, they can shrink very quickly because I believe that logistics cost more, marketing costs more, talent also costs more here. You need visas, you need insurance for every person you're hiring. Even the online acquisition channels very often cost more from my own experience on my own company. And another point is that the payment terms are also different. Usually it's between 60, 90 days, while I know in Europe it's very often 30 days, in the US sometimes even faster, 7 days, US, Australia. So you really need to plan your working capital and your budgets ahead. Don't try to underprice just to enter the market and start selling, because it may cost you a lot later. Fifth important point, map to national goals. What I wanted to mention here, and this is also another critical point, I believe. So I think that many of you probably heard about the Dubai Economic Agenda D33. It's a big program introduced by the government, which is, the idea is to double the economy and position Dubai as as one of the top three global cities by 2023. So that's a really big goal. There are more than 100 really big projects behind that. But what is important for startups in the startup ecosystem, there are points that the goal is to create 30 unicorns and help to grow 400 SMEs into large enterprise. So those are the big goals, and that's why they really support the startups ecosystem. Well, not only all the ecosystems, and they are very helpful. Also, in the 2023, they put some local UAE priorities, which are national identity, sustainability, education reform, economic diversification, and emiratization. And if you're aligned with one or more of those goals, you're already ahead of your competition. Also, emiratization, I think it's important to mention here. This means it's not only for the government or public sector. This applies also to the private sector. It means that companies mainland companies hiring more than 50 people must increase the amount of Emirati nationals that they hire every year, little by little. And I believe that now in 2026 it's changing and the rate will be even higher. And if you're not doing it, you're just paying monthly fines. So they are very, very strict about it. So yeah, I think that this is really one of the factors behind accessing the opportunities which are out there, because many opportunities, many fundraising, many business hubs, incubators are government related. So if you're aligned with it, already few points up. And yeah, the last one, the same as I keep mentioning, always on present. Consistency here is very important. Going to the events, going for coffees, meeting people. Presence is your strategy here. So yeah, I think if you follow those few principles in the first few months, there is you're on a way to success. Let's move on. Okay, so this also the interesting point, that interesting slide that I wanted to bring up, because people think that they come to UAE and right away they have a magic passport to all the region, to all GCC, all the Middle East is open for them. Yes, it's easier, but being in UAE does not automatically unlock all the region. So what is unlocks? Well, first of all, regional credibility. Being based in Dubai means that you're serious about the region. You're also closer to other countries, so you can easily just hop on the airplane and be in Qatar, be in Doha, or go to Saudi. And all of the countries in the GCC are very similar in terms of how relational the business is, how much you need to meet person to person. So it really helps you with face-to-face meetings across the region and with a regional visibility. This is a perfect place to start because of a talent and capital density. I really think that in many ways that's a place where the whole world, the entire world is here, both culturally and commercially. It really attracts founders, very ambitious people, investors, a lot of capital, lots of advisors, everybody in one place. You don't need to look far, maybe just from Marina to downtown. Yeah, this is very important. Infrastructure, it's great infrastructure. I think that comparing to other countries in the region, the setup friction is minimal. It's really easy to get the license. The banking, it's also quite easy, and you get a lot of global connections here. So it's great market to start, to test, because you can test very quickly here. It's big enough and it's flexible enough. It gives you a lot of it's just a good launchpad for all other countries. So don't treat it as an end market, but as a starting point. And what it does not allow. So the common common misconceptions about what you actually have. The automatic GCC access. It does not unlock automatically the access to all other countries. Very often, or actually always, you need to have a local entity. You're working with Saudi, you need a local partner or local entity. They have different laws. It's also slightly different cultures, and even little things like operational structures. For example, in UAE, we're having the same weekdays and weekends as in the Western world. So Saturday and Sunday are the days off. And then in Saudi, it's Friday and Saturday. So if you're running a few offices, it may be a little bit more difficult. And one license fits all. No, you cannot do business across all the countries. When you have a license in UAE, you still need to have local entities in other countries. And as I mentioned, it's easy to set it up in Dubai. It's a little bit less easy in other countries. For example, in Saudi, it's licensing takes a little bit more time. They are a bit stricter with all the requirements. You need to already have local presence, local traction. The easiest way to do it is through partnerships. they're a bit more conservative. Qatar is also amazing market, but also slightly different. So yes, you're closer to them, but you still need to have local reps, local partners, local entities in different countries. And then UAE base, people think that once they get a license and once they open business, they automatically start selling, but not really. You still need to build everything from the ground, as I just mentioned in the previous minutes. So yeah, just treat GCC as you know, each country has its own go-to-market and its own rules. It's easier, but it doesn't unlock you the whole Middle East. Okay, and just the last part from me, and we go to Sameer part about local ecosystem and fundraising. I just wanted to quickly probably go through the summary of everything what I already mentioned and quickly go to market entry plan, the things that actually works for me and works for the startup that I'm working with. Because since I moved in here, I'm helping a lot of startups from Europe and from the US to come to the local market. And I think that many people are doing things opposite way, but it should be done here. That's why I really want to mention how to do it here. So I believe, most of us were coming to Dubai, and you can still stay here on the 90 days without any visa. So this is also a perfect timeline. So start with discovery, with exploration. Start with talking to as many people as you can, building the environment, interviewing what works here, get your few first one or two paid customers, paid pilots, get the local advisors, and understand the cost structure. Go to as many events as possible. That's called discovery sprint, the first 30 days. Then the second month, you're building credibility engine. So those pilots, the first customers, turn into the case studies. You put them on the website. You get the first ecosystem interest. Maybe you start talking to the first incubators where you want to register your business with. You start talking to the business hubs, and you're building your kind of UAE proof pack. So what I'm doing here actually makes sense, and I'm going to have a customers, and I'm going to have somebody backing me. And then the last month number 3, we just start setting up the local foundations. So here it's something what I didn't mention yet, but I didn't want to get too deeply into the legal part, but I think this is very important to mention. So at the beginning, the choices that you're making, for example, setting up at the free zone or the mainland, it's very important, because here your license defines what you're allowed to do, to offer, to sell. And many founders just choose the cheapest activity code, the cheapest free zone, and just register them. And then, 1 year, 2 years later, they discover that just they cannot contract customers that they want to work with, or they cannot offer services that they want to do. And usually fixing later, it's way more expensive. So I would say get smart advisors and think long-term. Choose the structure based on your 2-3 year goals. Don't try to optimize for the lowest cost. Try to optimize for the most efficient for your future goals. Once you're setting up the business, also what I wanted to bring up here, and also my experience of setting up the business, you get the license within 48 hours, but license is not everything. You need a bank account, you need residency, and this usually takes more time. I think banking, it's one of the bottlenecks here, which usually takes the longest. And many people really underestimate, because in Europe, for example, it doesn't work the same. Also in US, it's quite easy and quick to set up the bank account. Here, you need a lot of documentation. Sometimes you wait months for a bank account. Sometimes your bank account is getting frozen because you're missing some documents. Sometimes you even need to restructure the ownership to be able to use bank account and make transfer, which happened in my case. So yes, opening the business quick, but really fully having operational business, I would say you need to plan for month at the best case, but 2 to 4 months, it's more realistic. yeah, hiring first people. Don't hire random people. Just work with somebody who understands the ecosystem. It's really worth to hire smart at the beginning, because this person you want to stay with you long term, since we're building trust. Yeah, so I think that, validate first, build trust, set up the base. Don't do it in the reverse order, even though it seems, quite logic that you're getting your license first. But spend the first 2 months on exploring, talking, and getting first customers. And this will help you really to set up long-term, more sustainable business. Um, Samir, is there anything you would like to add to this
Okay.
overall market
I,
before we jump
I think
into your part?
this is amazing. Like, frankly, I was switching off my video on and off. The reason is I got sick a little bit because of the weather changing. But the way you covered this in so depth is such amazing. One of the things I really want to cover, if you're a talented entrepreneur, a scientist or a doctor, like I saw some messages in the chat saying I'm building a medical device, I'm building this. If you are a specialist or you're a PhD, or there are certain professions which are recognized by the UAE, which automatically grant you something called as a golden visa, which is a 10-year residency, auto renewable for yourself as well as for your family members. So I think one of the interesting things of introduction of the golden visa in 2018 was to bring talent, global talent into Dubai, or the entire UAE, and build more kind of talent in terms of deep tech and others. So um, that will also give you an opportunity to kind of, before you form a company, to test how is it going to go, whether and then that residency allows you to actually come and go without the restriction of 180 days in each country, right? Like typically if you have a residency visa in a country, the maximum time you're allowed to stay in that country is 181 days. And so UAE has made it super easy for talented entrepreneurs to come and establish, and then see whether for them, their kids come on vacation, their families, and so what Ada mentioned in the last point is long-term planning. I think you should, if you're very serious, start looking at long-term planning, utilizing some of the existing infrastructure which is available. If we can go to the next slide, and then um, I also saw some messages that some of the founders are fundraising, and it's an interesting discussion which I always have with founders, and the numbers are really visible on your dashboard. I would like to warn the way fundraising works is pretty different compared to the US, where a check is signed, or a wire transfer is signed on a tissue across a coffee table. Ada mentioned very clearly that there is a long term relationship which you need to build. And so, what I would like to advise founders, a lot of early stage founders come to the UAE thinking that Dubai is the city of gold, it's perceived or globally as the city of gold. You come in, you step in, and automatically there is a golden carpet from the airport, from Terminal 3. Emirates is actually laying the golden carpet for you to come and just capture that gold. So while the perception is like this, and by the way, I have traveled across continents. In certain Western continents, the perception is that UAE is still a third world country, right? So, my humble appeal to all of you is, if you're outside any country, if you've not explored the beauty of the country, any country for that matter. I mean, because I'm based here for a long time, I would vouch for the UAE, but I would say any country, either you want to do business or you want to go on vacation, you will have your own research, you will have Google Images, you will have feedback from people from Booking.com. One of the very interesting things is, before I head to the investment thing, which I wanted to mention, safety is the priority in the UAE. Use your devices, your things, whatever you are bringing to the UAE, your cash, you know, you will go with the same things outside the UAE, because everything is so secure and controlled that you will not be able to kind of miss anything, unless it's very, by completely by your mistake, or you forget to pick it up from the police station and things like that. But safety is the number one priority. And I want you to consider this as an important aspect whenever you're looking at countries where you want to either domicile your company or kind of move your company for better ease of doing business or things like that, right? So we're going to touch on a few sectors. 2 days ago, actually 3 days ago, I did a small panel on the UAE investment landscape, and what's happening, what happened in 2025 and what will happen in 2026 at STEP conference, one of the key startup conferences. And I think the reason we put up this slide is for you to understand which are the sectors are moving, in what direction they are moving. So fintech, anything to do with fintech, e-commerce also is becoming fintech. Anything which requires pay to collect is classified here as fintech. And so the number one funding which goes to companies is in the fintech category. There are various fintech associations, fintech hubs, which you can access. They give you a sandbox to kind of incorporate your company. So fintech is the number one play here in the UAE, right? And also in the GCC, it's becoming quite prominent now. Everything requires a payment system, right? So the second is, I would say, enterprise software. Now, there is a lot of classification or distribution in enterprise software, right? Prop tech is enterprise software. CRM is enterprise software. A lot of you are building agentic systems, which you're selling to B2B customers, is enterprise software. One of my companies, we sell software for predictive analytics to government and B2B companies, is enterprise software. So there is a big demand when it comes to enterprise software. But in terms of second, so if you are in the enterprise software business, successful in your home market, again, write this down. You have to be successful in your home market. Don't come here to burn your cash. If your investors have mandated to open a new geography, obviously Dubai is low hanging. You can do all the research and launch. But if you're an early stage founder, I would say be successful in your home market, get some cash, get some good customer logos, and then move to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, to work on this. Artificial intelligence, most of the software which is built today, and I'll give you an example. A couple of days ago, one of our chairmen from Silicon Valley was here. So we visited a ministry, and they're solving a very solid problem. The ministry receives a lot of patent and trademark applications from different people coming into the UAE. And what they're doing, they're using AI to scan the application with whether the application is actually patentable or trademarkable. AI decides that. And there has been also an example, a very interesting example, in South Africa, where AI actually did the whole patent study. It came out with all the nuances to file a patent, and it actually secured a patent. And so these things are happening. The justice system is completely digital. There are video conferences, and there are free zones, which we will come back to. Basically, there are two free zones, which are English common law jurisdiction, and we'll touch upon that. E-commerce has been prevalent. Again, it's a classification of fintech and logistics, supply chain, a mix of that, e-commerce. And again, if you're in Asia or the US, you have all the 10-minute deliveries and 15-minute deliveries and all of that e-commerce systems are available here. So anything you want to kind of work on that idea, there has been a lot of surge in e-commerce companies. The interesting part, and Ada touched a little bit on this, is 96% of UAE funding in 2025 went in Dubai, just because it's so easy. And I would say it's a global playground. It's a global town square where a lot of global people from Silicon Valley, from Southeast Asia, from Africa, they use this as a landing pad, not only to secure deals but to understand the different regions which they can easily access within an 8-hour geography, or a time zone. Abu Dhabi is very strategic, and if you're not from UAE, you should know why Abu Dhabi is strategic, because some of the big sovereign wealth funds are in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is the capital of the UAE. Out of the 7 Emirates, Abu Dhabi is the capital. And 49.3% year on year growth. There is a lot of investment going into new scale companies, right? So they are not investing in early stage, but what they're saying, if you set up your company in Abu Dhabi, we will do matching funding. And the reason you will see this growth is basically there are organizations which we'll touch upon shortly, which do matching funding. So your salaries, your accommodations for 1 or 2 years can kind of get paid by those incubators. If you're in um, I would say, if you're a social startup, there are specific programs. If you're a climate tech startup or a sustainability startup, you have programs in Abu Dhabi. So depending on which category or startup you fall into, start looking at events and start looking at the growth of that particular sector in the UAE, right? While it's easy to set up, there are other nuances which might actually hamper and take a lot of your investment and time away. So if we can go to the next slide, Ada. Yeah, again, more of a emphasis on the growth of the sectors like the UAE funding record. You will see, and this is more compared to global. Magnet is one of the digital data trackers in the region, where some of the large private equity, angel groups, and venture capital use this data to track activity. And you will see that compared in the last 3 quarters of 2025, and well, some of the results are going to be out by the end of quarter 2026. You will see a phenomenal growth in terms of investment, foreign direct investment. I work very closely with a close friend of mine, who is also part of the Dubai FDI program, where their target is to bring companies over 100 million, $500 million value or annual recurring revenue into UAE, to kind of localize them and create market path or pathways for them to enter newer markets. So you will see the investment trend growing. While if you look at Europe and the US, a lot of European and American investors and the UK investors, because of some of the policy changes happening there, you will see a lot of capital from those Western economies has started to percolate in this region. So but again, the capital is selective. It doesn't go to everybody. So you have to know where the capital is going, where the deals are happening, and you have to keep a tap on that, so you can access that capital. Next slide, please. Um, when we talk about investment, you will also notice that there is a high intake of debt, while in mostly in the emerging markets or advanced markets like Silicon Valley and Singapore and other India, Asia, right? You will see many players in the venture capital space securing the startup securing funding through equity capital, right? Now, because this market is completely different, right? Because there are very limited players in, for example, buy now, pay later. We're taking an example in the BNPL industry here, right? Which requires continuous working capital. You will see there is a rise of venture debt. And some of the very strong organizations, including sovereign wealth funds, are actually giving smaller venture firms, smaller, I mean 100, $200 million venture funds, are also securing debt capital from larger sovereign wealth funds to fund companies in Series C, Series D, and above, right? What happens is in this scenario, and why this is important, is there is a good mix of equity and debt, which leads to economic growth. Because if I don't know if you guys have known, there is there's a greed index on the venture capital side, mostly in advanced countries, where fear greed index means if there is a lot of fear in terms of raising money, and a lot of venture capitalists are actually behind equity, then what happens is they become very greedy to kind of secure the best deal they want to get into. So look at the fear greed index, and so hence, in order to balance that, there is a good mix of venture debt in this region, right? So you're seeing 55% of the share, mostly companies like Tabby and Tamara and some of the large BNPL providers. We took a specific example of BNPL here, are securing huge amount of venture debt. And companies like Zello Finance, they are doing invoice discounting. They're supported by some of the government and semi-government agencies who have millions and billions of dollars to kind of secure the investment and make the economy look better. So let's go to the next slide. I think this is super important what UAE is looking in 2026. And please, if you have any questions, we'll take the questions as we kind of conclude in another 10-15 minutes. But I want to think, if you've already been in the UAE, or did some research in the UAE, the highest amount of natural resource which is available is solar. And until very late recently, the usage of solar energy was not prominent till about 5 years ago. And Dubai started a revolution in usage of solar. They set up a 1 gigawatt solar plant to supply some of the large companies solar energy. Abu Dhabi has come up with a policy just last week I was kind of referring to, where every home, it can be operated like a grid, right? So essentially your electricity bill can come to zero, right? Like other countries, like other in the US and Europe and things like that. So because a lot of energy, both electrical energy, solar energy, even some investment in nuclear energy is happening, right? There is a big opportunity in the energy sector. So if you're building in the energy sector, but if you're at a later stage, don't come and experiment at an early stage, because then again you'll have limited amount of cash burn. But energy is a big taker of sustainable products and things like that. So start focusing on how you can comply, your startup can comply, and pitch to investors using sustainable development goals. There are 17 goals, which you should refer to, and build your startup based on that sustainability parameters of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Prop tech, there is a lot of construction going on. Every new day has a diversion, has a new building, has a real estate development, has an office space, and there is a billions and billions of investment dollars into real estate, both from Asia, Africa. Some of the money from here is getting invested into Africa, the US, and obviously Europe, right? So a lot of real estate development is happening. I also wanted to mention one interesting statistic. When I met the minister 2 days ago, he said, Sameer, do you know where 30% of Dubai's cranes are. And I've been here for since 2004, and I was very curious to know where, like, I said maybe they're building buildings and another Burj Khalifa, because they have these mega projects in the moon and all of that. They said no, 30% of the cranes are outside Dubai servicing some of the companies building data centers, because they clearly understood that data is going to be the new oil about 5 years ago. So a lot of investment is actually going into real estate development for setting up data centers, for giving them power. This is why energy and prop tech are working very closely to each other. We spoke about fintech. There is a very, very strong momentum. UAE, Saudi, and Qatar, major players. At some point in time, between 2004 and 2010, 11, before the financial crisis of 2008, actually, Bahrain Financial Harbor, it was called BFH at that time, and I was working in Bahrain for almost 1.5 years. It took all the top companies, banks, security agencies to be housed in the Bahrain Financial Harbor. So right now, Dubai has taken that spot because they made free zones more to cater to large banks and private equity and things like that. So fintech, I mean, I'm not just talking about startups here, but I'm talking about fintech as a sector, right? Fintech includes banks, insurtech, a lot of associated or adjacent industries where it is a pay to play model, right? Where you are a consumer and you're the UAE government has created strategies for two important things. One is food and one is health. And Ada mentioned one of the strategies, which is the Dubai Vision 2033. Dubai Vision 2033 is simply they want to have an urban city within 10 to 15 minute driving distance. Schools will be in the same locality. So you basically, as a resident of that particular city, you don't have to move anywhere. So that's what they're aiming. They've started already deploying for the Vision 2033, and they're gonna the main urban master plan is gonna be finished by 2040. So why this is important? Because they're working on certain things in the not only health, food, and other sectors, to provide within a radius of less than 5 kilometers, so you can actually access all the facilities. And the biggest sector is food and health, longevity. And I also saw that some of the entrepreneurs here who are kind of working on some interesting aspects of diagnostics. Dubai has something called as Dubai Science Park, which kind of caters to specific industries in bioscience and medtech. Abu Dhabi has programs for bioscience and medtech. They have funding opportunities available in the form of grants. So look at these programs, and we'll guide you further as we go along. Like other countries, sovereignty is becoming paramount in the UAE. All the data which is in the UAE has to stay in the UAE, and similarly in Saudi and Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and all the other GCC countries, right? There is a huge uptake in terms of protecting data. This is why Abu Dhabi have their own models, foundational models. There are three foundational models, including the Falcon, and these foundational models actually are helping not only to develop sovereign tech, but also from a cybersecurity perspective, so that the data can reside within the country. And the highest number of scams which happen in the banking financial sector is also in the UAE. So you have to be very beware on who you're transacting. I think there is a trust deficit because it's a busy city. A lot of people, a lot of scammers enter the city by different means. So there is a big push on cybersecurity, both by banks and insurance companies, and even startups have to provide a secure platform, which has been the risk has been mitigated, and the study of the risk profiles of the people The customers who they are onboarding has to be studied and things like that. So there is a big push in terms of the central bank controlling both data sovereignty and cybersecurity. And obviously, e-commerce is a big sector as we go along. Supply chain e-commerce, and one of the hubs they're building is called the Dubai World Central, where 250 million passengers will land by 2030, and it's the largest airport with 6 parallel runways. Al Maktoum International Airport, connected with the Jebel Ali port and things like that. So that is going to really solve not only for the UAE, but for if you want to ship things to Africa, drop ship things to GCC countries, and do global business. Those kind of logistical hurdles will be completely removed when the Dubai World Central Logistics Hub is functional, fully functional. Let's go to the next slide, Ada. If you are a startup, this is for you, right? How do you work with early stage companies? What needs to be done? Who are the people we should meet? How should we? What should we do in terms of strategy? So different government departments have actually come out and established their own startup programs, which is very interesting because, as I said earlier, these are very sector specific. Some of them are sector agnostic, and some of them are purely catering. Like I said, Dubai Science Park is only catering to science and bioscience and medtech based startup, right? So while the biggest revenue, which I think we should have also covered in Dubai, is from tourism. Tourism contributes the largest amount of revenue. This is why Dubai Economy and Tourism now they actually consolidated two departments. It was called Dubai Tourism and Commerce Marketing and Dubai Department of Economy. They consolidated this department into something called as Dubai Economy and Tourism (DET), and DET along with the Dubai Chamber, they formed this founders HQ in a fantastic place in downtown, where founders from different parts of the world can come, network, co-work, and have access to the best of the facilities, and from there they can grow into nearby ecosystems. Very close to that is the IFC FinTech Hive, which is a landmark opportunity for fintech startups, for them to incorporate, and there are various levels of incorporation. Ada also touched upon, depending on what category of your business is. Does it require to collect cash from customers? Do you require a custodial license? Right, depending on what type of customer acquisition strategy you have, you can register with FinTech Hive as a tech innovation company. For 1 year, you can actually utilize their sandbox, because some of the sandboxes are provided by FinTech Hive. And then as you finish your 1 year, then you can actually move, after testing your product with different banks and fintechs, you can actually move into a full-fledged fintech license. In5 is by Dubai Internet City. The oldest one is In5 with 600 plus entrepreneurs. Some of the great entrepreneurs reside here. And In5 for itself has created a name in terms of the highest number of funded startups originated from this tech hub. So look at in5, infive.ae, where you can actually access all the resources and apply if you'd like to join their community. Same as with Astrolabs, which is a private entity. They're between UAE and Saudi, have done some very smart company. They were the early entrant, part of Dubai Multi Commodity Center, which is also now has a crypto center, a whole building dedicated to crypto. So if you're dealing in cryptocurrency, you have to set up in Dubai Multi Commodity Center. If you're doing tea trading, coffee trading, diamond trading, pearl trading, Dubai Multi Commodity Center, depending on what licenses you take, you can actually incorporate there. You can take residency visas for your employees, and it's a beautiful place in Jumeirah Lake Towers, surrounded by about 4 or 5 nice lakes. So you'll really enjoy its mixed use towers. Both half is office space, and on the top is residential. So you might even actually work and stay in the same building. It's a very interesting community. Area 2071 is a government initiative by Dubai Future Foundation, who used to run Dubai Future Accelerator, and Hub 71 is in Abu Dhabi. So again, if you need additional guidance, we're happy to guide you to the right hub to make your entry as smooth as possible. Next, please. I think there is capital availability. What I want to focus here is some of the whether you're a bootstrap company or or a company who raised enough capital from the external investor, or you might also be a company who's secured a lot of grants. And I'll tell you an example. I met one of the European founders who's moving to Doha, Qatar, who's secured from Germany. They're doing chip design for some of the large big tech, right? And the grant they received was 175 million euro, and this is unheard of here, right? So when they received this grant, one of the things I was talking to him saying, how do we expand and bring that capital to the Middle East and create a subsidiary here, right? So start talking to people in the they have already started communication with target relationship investors who can actually localize the capital, help with actually finding the right sweet spot, because you don't want to bring the entire grant money here. You want to localize it in different pockets. So there are some certain advisors who can actually guide you whether what is the best way to kind of deploy that capital. And fundraising is challenging. I get so many LinkedIn messages saying, Samir, can you guide us for fundraising? And the notion is whoever is here has spent considerable amount of time in the ecosystem. But again, Ada mentioned a very important point here. You have to know people for them to know you, right? And so if I refer somebody and if I don't know them, and I do a one-sided connect, it might harm my relationship as well, either with the government or some of the other people. So you have to be very peculiar in picking who the target relationship investors are, how to how to bridge that liquidity. I see a lot of US founders coming from bridge rounds. They've raised 25-30 million in the US. Now they want a small capital bridge round. I just had a friend coming from Palo Alto, Mountain View, who came here for the World Healthcare Exhibition. He's in the medtech industry. They came for a $5 million bridge round, and they're very specific on who they meet, right? So they come to meet the bridge the liquidity gap. And there is a lot of capital in the late stage. So if you already raised capital somewhere, it would be easier for you to navigate. And a little bit dicey thing I want to touch here. I don't know. I did not see how many women founders are there on the panel, but on the participant list. Ada, maybe we should throw this question. But the ecosystem has a severe problem in terms of female founder funding, like every other city or country. So you have to be super smart if you're raising money from local investors. You have to be very, very shrewd in terms of why you're raising and how you as a female founder can make that difference, and then ensure that that funding is properly localized. And again, even for female founders or male founders or any other founders, it is important that the funding available is at a little bit later stage. I would say Series A and above is much better to early stage. You can do discovery, but I think later stage is where you can really close a funding round. If we can next, Tada. Yeah, I think this is more a reputation of the entire magnet which we covered. It's completely relationship based. You come in, you see whether you fit the metal. If it doesn't fit your lifestyle, it is better to hire a local partner who understands the geography well, who understands UAE well, who can actually work with you to localize your offer, who can actually help you with fundraising. And we work with some of the interesting funds as well who want to find limited partners in this region, and we help create that limited partner framework, right? So smart capital is available again based on relationships. So What are some of the critical watchouts? Easy money myth. Yeah, this is, yeah, there is a lot of understanding. You'll see some funny LinkedIn posts, like there are people with placards, big placard saying, hey, if you're a founder, come to here, come to Dubai, come to Abu Dhabi. A lot of people, shouting loud on LinkedIn. Just be very, very clear, saying, seeing those posts and taking action on it. The process is longer. So you have to be here, stick your neck, ensure that you are answering all the questions which the your customer or your investor, and people you were going to hire have faith in you, trust in you. Don't allow any trust deficit to take over your business, right? And localize it. I think look at a lot of data that is amazing. Earlier, like 5 years ago, there was no data. We were working with some entities where we had to request data like open data, but now the open data policies have been much more seamless, and you can actually utilize and request from Dubai Health Authority, from Abu Dhabi Economic Department, from Roads and Transport Authority. You can request open data to build on the layer of your systems and things like that. So to build the localized narrative, to build localized pricing if it is possible, and to comply with the local laws. Though everybody says there is no personal income tax, but there are other taxes, like there is value added tax 5%. There is corporate tax if you exceed a threshold of $1 million. So there are taxes which is 9%, which can also uh, take your business profitability away, and your EBITDA might reduce. So yeah, you wanna
I think we could actually jump into the questions because we have just last
yeah,
few
let's take
minutes.
that. Let's take some questions and see who we want to bring. And I think this is very interesting. I really loved sharing this feedback and my experience. And if you guys want to reach out, feel free to reach out. I'm more of an email person, so I'm faster to to respond over email. Ada is here too, who was very kind to design the entire deck. Thank you, Ada, for
Yes, of course, of course.
and so yeah, I'll roll it back to you, Ada, for any questions and kind of
Yeah, we have a few questions. I think, well, you could be also the one to answer.
okay.
What would you say are the most prominent differences between Saudi and the UAE?
So I would say one is ease of doing business. Second is taxes. Saudi has zakat, UAE has value added tax and corporate tax. Corporate tax is also now for new Saudi companies who are establishing in the kingdom. They waived corporate taxes for large enterprises. They waived corporate taxes for 30 years, right? The third is which right now is an advantage to the UAE. I would say talent is amply available in the UAE. I mean, access to talent is easy. While Saudi as a geography is very large, and Saudi is in a building mode, so you will find mostly blue collar workers willing to build buildings and flyovers and trains and stuff like that. The normal infrastructure. So, but a lot of interesting white collar people are also moving between, they're either residing in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Riyadh, depending, and they're working between the geography. So I think depending on the nature of your business, I think you can kind of localize, localize where you want to be hosted. But we're happy to guide you as well.
Yeah, I think the main thing, Saudi, it's way bigger. In UAE, you have around 10 million. Saudi, I think I was checking recently, more than 30 million people. That's a massive difference. Yeah, but the entry point is different. Another question was, from your experience, what is the most common mistake MENA startups make when entering UAE market, and how can early stage founders avoid it?
Wonderful. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is that they see the success of other people, other founders who've raised some capital or who got a luck of securing some big logos in the market. Maybe their product was really good in their home market. They had good success and they launched as an extension or in an emerging market. So not every product, I think we touched on the sectors, not every product can fit I would say both from the founder side as well as the startup side can fit this landscape. So I would say, um, uh, do a little bit of by yourself, do a research on having a product market fit or a founder market fit. For example, I come from India, and when I came here a long time ago, I had a bit of a difficulty understanding local cultures and things like that. Maybe the initial 2 years, but as I started working in the ecosystem, I built those relationships and things like that. So and then I grew my profile to become more global and traveled to Silicon Valley many times, participated in conferences, spoke at conferences worldwide, and so I think if you decide to house yourself here, you have to look at, one is there a product market fit to the region? Second is founder market fit or founder lifestyle fit. I would say lifestyle because it's quite expensive to live here. So some of the things which I mean, education, vehicles, and some of the things which might get really price. Accommodation might take away 40% of your salary if you're drawing a salary as an employee and things like that. So I think just kind of study the dynamics on what is offered to you, how much can you optimize to make your decision, and then go for it. Make a switch, but don't make a switch back. I would say, I always, when I came here, I always used to do currency conversion, saying how much is the dirham, how much is the Indian rupee, why am I paying so much? But over a period of time, I started realizing that every product has a value here. And if you can figure out the real value of your product here, I think that will help in pricing strategy and also your kind of lifestyle and the people you kind of mingle with, and they look at all these things. You just have to be a little bit, I would say, showy. People love, because it's more like a lifestyle place as well. I think you have to show that you have both power, authority, good product, and wealth. I think that is important.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. And I think that we have a last question and exactly the time for last question.
Yeah, sure.
It's really good. In your opinion, what is the difference between using an accelerator and incubator from outside of UAE and the UAE?
Yeah. So again, if you're an early stage company, and a lot of early stage companies definitely choose an accelerator to launch or even build their product. We run Founder Institute, and because of that, a lot of early stage companies are being built here, either here or other parts of GCC. But the accelerator is a very short program, anywhere between 12 to 14 weeks, which lets you fail fast, right? An incubator like an N5, if you already built a product, have a traction, have some paying customers, an incubator will actually help you to stay long term. They will give you office space for 3 years so you can stabilize as a company and then become big and grow, and then so that's the difference between an accelerator, incubator. And then also, typically, if you're in an accelerator with some of the global accelerators already housed here, right, you might have easy access to funding as well. So I again, if you're in Europe or the US or somewhere, and as a part of their global program, you're housed in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, then utilize that opportunity to come and work from here, because then you'll get a feel of that city.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it for the questions. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Sameer, for so
Yeah.
much amazing knowledge based on your experience. So many good inputs. And I think that people may have more questions afterwards. Just yeah, feel free to reach out to both of us. Sameer, the veteran of the in the ecosystem, knowing everybody in the market, he knows how relationships are important, and he'd be the one to back you up if you need it. So yeah, once again, thank you, everybody. Happy to have you here and looking forward to the next sessions. If there's
And
anything that
just,
you would like
just a closing thought, Ada, that we have the another session on AI tools next week on the 24th. So if you are in Dubai, would you mind pasting that link, Ada, in the chat? If you are in Dubai and would like to learn, it's a free class on the new AI tools conducted by one of our investors from Saudi. She's very experienced in building some of the big AI tools. So she'll actually tell you how to build your AI colleague or your AI co-founder. It's evening 8:30 to 10 p.m. If you sign up, you'll receive all the information. So it's in Dubai. So even if you're in Abu Dhabi, feel free to travel to Dubai, and we'd love to see you in person as well. Right, Ada? If you can post that link,
Yeah, 100%. I'm just one
or we
sec.
can also send the link
Yeah,
in the follow-up email.
I think this is better. I think, yeah, I have it here. I'm just posting it now in the chat.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.